After 7 years of pursuing my beloved Maggie, we are finally getting married. But on our wedding day, she ran away with a scoundrel she had only known for less than 3 months. I became the laughingstock of the entire city, while her eyes were filled with disgust. Peter, did you really think I would love you? How could I possibly marry a lapdog like you? It turns out, all these years she had been enduring humiliation and hardship. But I gave everything for this love. Maggie, you will regret it. Chapter 1. The wedding music had just started playing when the heavy doors suddenly swung open. I watched in disbelief as a defiant-looking scoundrel walked up to Maggie, his eyes filled with disdain. He knelt down on one knee in front of her, his eyes now filled with tenderness. Maggie, come with me. I will give you true happiness. Maggie glanced at me indifferently, a hint of a blush appearing on her usually icy face. A mocking smile played on her lips, and my heart sank. In the next moment, she decisively let go of my hand and gently held onto the scoundrel, saying in a sweet voice, "I do." She raised her head proudly, as graceful as ever, like a swan. The entire venue erupted in chaos. What is happening? Someone is stealing the bride? Oh my goodness. This is the Smith family's wedding, and someone dares to cause a scene. What on earth is going on? As I looked at the chaotic scene unfolding before me, my heart strangely grew calm. This was my 9th failed attempt at pursuing her. Every time before, I had chosen to start over. But this time, I am tired. Images of the past replayed in my mind. In university, I drank and networked tirelessly to help Maggie become the student council president. When she wanted to start her own company, I used all my connections to help her secure funding. When she fell ill and needed a bone marrow transplant, I didn't hesitate to offer mine. From initially pursuing her as a conquest to truly loving her with all my heart, and now to this despair. I am truly exhausted. System, end it. As I watched Maggie and the scoundrel walk out of the venue hand in hand, hearing the anger and resentment from my parents in my ears, darkness began to engulf my vision. Deleting all memories related to the target. Deletion successful. Chapter 2. I was in a coma for a whole week. When I finally woke up, the first person I saw by my side was Cherry, my childhood friend who had grown up with me. But I remember that she was supposed to be studying abroad all this time, so why is she here? She saw me open my eyes, and her face was filled with unimaginable surprise. Peter. You're awake? Quick, let me get you a glass of water first. Watching Cherry hurriedly pour me a glass of water, I couldn't help but feel touched. I slowly took the water from her hands, drank it all, and felt a bit more comfortable in my body. Seeing my complexion slightly improve, Cherry seemed to let out a sigh of relief, but then she spoke with a mix of frustration and disappointment. How many times have I told you not to hang yourself on one tree? And now you ended up in the hospital because of that woman. Did she put a spell on you? Now look. You poured your heart and soul into her for 7 years, and she ran off with some scoundrel she barely knew for 3 months. Isn't it hilarious? Because of this, the Smith family has become a laughingstock. My uncle even fainted at the wedding. As I listened to Cherry's rapid-fire words, I couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. I quickly interrupted her, looking puzzled. Cherry, what are you talking about? What wedding? Woman. And my dad fainted? Silence. The atmosphere in the hospital room suddenly felt frozen. Cherry covered her mouth, her pupils slightly dilated, murmuring in disbelief. Peter. You don't remember? Chapter 3. I was a dog licking someone's boots for 7 years? And in the end, she eloped with some punk? After hearing everything Cherry said, I stood there in a daze, my eyes filled with disbelief. Who am I? A top student from childhood, the sole heir of the Smith Group. And I ended up being someone's lapdog for 7 years? In that moment, looking at myself in the mirror felt absurd beyond words. But just then, the door to the hospital room was forcefully pushed open. My mother walked in, tears streaming down her face, her eyes filled with heartache. Peter, it's better that this wedding didn't happen. In the future, Mom will find you a better wife. Don't worry about the company, Mom will handle it. Your only task is to take care of yourself. In her eyes, I must be devastated and unable to accept this blow. It's hard to imagine how heavy the burden on her shoulders must be right now. After a moment of silence, I forced a smile and patted my chest, saying, Mom, I'm fine. From now on, I won't bother with that woman anymore. Your son is back. Ha! Blinking a few times, my mother suddenly reached out and touched my forehead with the back of her hand, whispering, But you don't have a fever. Why are you saying nonsense? A vein popped on my forehead. Oh my, this image of being a bootlicker is deeply ingrained, isn't it? Helplessly, I turned my gaze to Cherry for assistance. Cherry shrugged and reluctantly stood up, saying, Auntie. It seems like Peter has forgotten about Maggie. Chapter 4. With 3 parts of worry, 6 parts of surprise, and 1 part of doubt in my mother's eyes. Soon, a group of doctors surrounded me, making buzzing sounds, and began conducting various examinations, but ultimately, they found nothing. Mrs. Smith, we haven't encountered a case like Mr. Peters before, but based on the current examination results, there shouldn't be any negative impact on his health. It could be that due to experiencing intense emotional stimulation, his brain activated a protective mechanism, resulting in the partial loss of Peter's memory. The head of the psychiatric department spoke to my mother. I've been saying that I'm fine. I helplessly removed the instruments from my hand and spoke. It's always good to have a checkup. So, Peter, where would you like to go to relax? How about traveling abroad? My mother's expression slightly relaxed, and she then smiled at Cherry, her gaze seeming somewhat peculiar, encouraging her. It's perfect. Cherry can accompany you since she rushed back on the same day she heard about your situation, without even going home. She's been by your side all this time. If you don't properly thank her, I'll make your dad beat you. Hearing these words, I couldn't help but look at Cherry with some surprise in my heart. It was only now that I noticed a pink suitcase in the corner of the hospital. She had been here with me for 7 days? Speaking of which, I had given her that suitcase when she went abroad, and she hadn't changed it all this time. In an instant, I felt like I had been blind before. Only now did I truly see Cherry's kindness. It took me 9 cycles to lose my memory of Maggie, but the memories unrelated to her remained. Among them was everything Cherry had done for me. In every lifetime, she was there for me without complaint, silently accompanying me until the end. This time, I am unwilling to let go of her hand. Chapter 5. Auntie, please don't say such things. I don't need Peter to accompany me. He's fine, and I'm going back abroad. Seemingly aware of my mother's intense gaze, Cherry, who usually acted like a tomboy, suddenly blushed at this moment. However, not hearing this, my mom did become anxious and started frantically signaling me with her eyes. Please, Cherry, don't leave so soon. You've finally come back. Stay a little longer in the country. Let Peter accompany you and have some fun. I took a deep breath and suddenly sat up from the bed. Cherry, give me some time. Let me handle the matters at hand, and then I'll accompany you abroad. The Smith family's reputation has been tarnished, and my dad fainted. I can't just turn a blind eye to it. Upon hearing my words, both Cherry and my mother couldn't help but tense up. Cherry quickly spoke up. Peter. Don't be impulsive. The past is in the past. Please don't do anything rash. Seeing their worried expressions, I suddenly realized and couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and frustration. What were they thinking? Did they think I was going to confront that scoundrel who tried to steal the marriage? Is he even worthy? A woman who can be stolen away by a scoundrel only reflects her own level. I'm now so tired even just looking at her. But since that woman has gone this far and even made my dad end up in the hospital, I want to personally take back what I once gave her. I need to clean up the mess I've made. Helplessly sighing, I looked at my mother and spoke. Tell Dad that I'm going back to the company. I'll be discharged this afternoon. Chapter 6. Fresh out of the hospital, I received the interim director appointment letter that my father had someone bring to me, entrusting me with full authority over all company affairs. According to our butler, Uncle Fu, when my dad found out that I was willing to return to the company, he was so excited that he almost jumped up on the spot and even had 2 large bowls of rice for lunch. After all, if it weren't for me constantly bothering Maggie and refusing to get involved in these matters before, he would have handed over the company's affairs to me a long time ago. You see, in the past, I managed to increase the company's scale by more than 10 times in just 2 years. I even became one of the top 10 outstanding young representatives in the city. Alright, let's begin. Tell me about the current situation of the company. As I took my seat at the head of the boardroom, one director after another started to appear. Mr. Smith, let me first introduce to you the current main business and financial situation of our company. Director Lee, who practically watched me grow up, smiled kindly at me and opened up a massive PowerPoint presentation. Starting from scratch, he elaborated on the recent developments of the company and the crises we are currently facing. Quickly, with the foundation of my 9 lifetimes of memories, I already understood the overall situation. So, the biggest problem the company is facing right now is the declining public trust in Smith Enterprises, leading to a drop in stock prices. Tapping my fingertips on the table, I calmly spoke up. Smith Enterprises is involved in various industries, covering almost every aspect, but ultimately, it all comes down to one thing: people. Indeed. Hearing me pinpoint the issue, Director Lee's eyes flashed with satisfaction, and he nodded. Mr. Smith, do you have any good solutions? Naturally, I do. A slight smile curved on my lips as I looked towards Cherry by my side and whispered softly. Cherry, bring me the proposal I made for the company. Chapter 7. Excellent. What a brilliant move. Mr. Smith is truly amazing. No wonder he was called the stock market prodigy back in the day. If Mr. Smith had taken over the company earlier, we might have been able to make it onto the Fortune 500 list. As they read halfway through the proposal, the seasoned directors couldn't contain their excitement and stood up one by one. With their experienced perspective, they naturally understood the significant importance of this proposal. Almost every point addressed their current pain points. If it could be fully implemented, not only would it resolve the current crisis and recover losses, but it could also take us to a whole new level. Alright, if there are no objections, let's get to work. I smiled calmly, my expression indifferent. Everything in the proposal was not a difficult task for someone like me, who had the memories of 9 lifetimes. However, at that moment, Director Lee suddenly spoke up. Mr. Smith, I have a question. What is it? I maintained my smile and asked softly. First, according to this proposal, we need to lay off a large number of new employees from the past 2 years. Secondly, we have to terminate our partnership with Admire Sky Enterprises. Their renewable energy projects are currently thriving. Isn't this too risky? Director Lee took a deep breath, his eyes filled with worry. Upon hearing Admire Sky, Director Lee's expression clearly changed. Don't worry, I have personally reviewed all the new hires the company made in the past 2 years. It's a mix of good and bad, and we need to clean up. Furthermore, Admire Sky Enterprises. Their renewable energy projects won't go far. We will have our own renewable energy department. I smiled faintly, my face calm. Having heard my words, Director Lee didn't say much more and adjourned the meeting directly. When most people had left, I stretched lazily and smiled at Cherry, saying, Let's go. You've accompanied me in this long meeting, so I'll treat you to a big meal. Really? Cherry habitually stepped forward, pinching my neck and pouting. Then I'll have to charge you a hefty price. Deal. I stood up and suddenly turned my head, coincidentally facing Cherry. The distance between us was less than 3 centimeters. Why are you so close? What's going on? A wave of intoxicating fragrance rushed into my nostrils. Before I could react, Cherry, like a startled deer, took a step back. Seeing her blushing like a ripe apple, I shrugged helplessly and sighed inwardly. Patience is key. Chapter 8. Opilia Restaurant. This is a famous romantic restaurant. After I greeted them, the manager was already waiting at the entrance before Cherry and I arrived. Our usual spot? Seeing us, the manager hurriedly came forward, but there was a clear surprise in his eyes when he saw Cherry. Our usual spot. I nodded gently and led Cherry to the window seat on the second floor. Cherry, are you satisfied with this arrangement? Helping Cherry pull out her chair, I jokingly asked with a smile. Humph, it's not bad. Cherry humphed twice, looking at the couple's seat sign, momentarily lost in thought. But she quickly snapped out of it and sat down directly. However, for some reason, her face seemed redder than usual. All right, let's order. I pressed the bell lightly, and the nearby manager immediately understood. Exquisite dishes were soon brought in by the waitstaff. Because we were a bit hungry from the meeting at the office, Cherry and I quickly lost our composure and started enjoying the food. I don't know why, but there's an indescribable sense of relaxation in my heart. Am I really feeling relaxed just because of a meal? Is it because the person accompanying me for dinner is different? Unknowingly, I stared at Cherry, my gaze softening. What? What are you looking at? Focused on battling a lobster, with her mouth covered in oil, Cherry blushed and couldn't help but speak in a coquettish tone. Taking a deep breath, I was about to say something when suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps interrupted us. When I looked up, I saw a proud, swan-like woman glaring at me with flared nostrils. Her face was cold, but her eyes were filled with anger. Peter! Are you really this petty? Just because we didn't end up together, you fired all my relatives in the Smith Company? And you even terminated the new energy collaboration with Admire Sky Enterprises. Do you know what you're doing? Now, immediately. Resolve this matter right away. Otherwise, I will never forgive you. Chapter 9. Me? Looking at the woman in front of me who seems ready to explode, I can only feel utterly confused. No, is this person crazy? Do we know each other? Slowly standing up, I'm filled with doubt in my eyes. Upon hearing my question, the woman in front of me also seems stunned for a moment. But then, she furrows her brows slightly and sneers. Peter, is it necessary? Pretending to have amnesia? Do you think that will make me be with you? Let me tell you, stop dreaming. A man like Ted, who has integrity, is the one I like, not a coward like you who can't even come up with a decent excuse. Seeing this woman looking at me as if I owe her billions, I can't help but feel speechless. But at that moment, Cherry suddenly stands up and stands in front of me, like a mother hen protecting her chick, and sternly says, Enough! Maggie! Haven't you caused enough trouble? You've been with Peter for so long, he doesn't owe you anything. Don't go too far. Seeing Cherry standing her ground without backing down, Maggie's expression slightly changes, but then she immediately sneers and looks at me, saying, Ha! Separated from me, and so quickly found a replacement. Seamless transition, I must have been blind to be entangled with you for 7 years. Peter, you are truly despicable. Then, she takes a step forward, scrutinizing Cherry from head to toe, and arrogantly says, Where did you come from? Do you think you have the right to meddle in Peter and my affairs? Let me tell you, you're just a pitiful substitute to me. Understand? You're no different from those dolls on the street. Now get out of here immediately. You have no say. Upon hearing this, Cherry's face is flushed with anger, and when she hears the word substitute, there's clearly something different in her eyes. But even so, she doesn't show any intention of avoiding the confrontation. Shut up. Taking a deep breath, I finally come to my senses and quickly stand up, pulling Cherry into my arms and speaking in a deep voice. Maggie, right? Although I don't remember what happened between us in the past, let me tell you, in my memory now, there's no place for you. Let's get acquainted again, Miss Cherry, my girlfriend. She's never been anyone's substitute. She will be my one and only. Chapter 10. You. Upon hearing my response, Maggie's face instantly turns ugly. But then, she suddenly steps forward and slaps Cherry hard across the face. Smack! The crisp sound of the slap echoes in the restaurant. You cheap woman! Do you think you can replace me just by getting close to Peter? Let me tell you, the trash I threw away, I won't allow anyone else to pick it up. Maggie speaks with hatred, but she hasn't finished her sentence. Smack! Another crisp slap resounds in the restaurant. Except this time. It's me who slapped her. Where did this crazy woman come from? Dare to lay a hand on someone? Have I given you face? Is this how your restaurant operates? Get this crazy woman out of here. My face turns dark as if water is about to drip from it, and I speak sternly. Yes, sir. The hastily arrived restaurant manager swallows his saliva and quickly instructs the nearby staff to escort Maggie out. However, just at that moment, a scream suddenly resounds. Ah! Peter! You actually hit me! How dare you hit me? Maggie covers her swollen face, looking at me in disbelief, her eyes filled with resentment. You wait. I will never forgive you. Even if you kneel in front of me and beg, I won't forgive you. She feels like she's going crazy. How could Peter dare to hit her? Remember, in the past, she was afraid of dropping her, afraid of dissolving her in his mouth. Let alone hitting her, even if he made a big mistake, he never spoke harshly to her. Even when asked to donate bone marrow, he didn't hesitate for a moment. But now, he actually hit her because of another woman? Get lost. Watching Maggie being escorted away in a sorry state by several staff members, my eyes are filled with disgust. To think that I was her lapdog for 7 years, such an arrogant and ill-mannered woman, and I even donated bone marrow for her? Just the thought of it makes me feel so uncomfortable. Peter. Suddenly, Cherry grabs my hand, her eyes filled with concern. She's worried that today's incident will affect me. She knows about my almost pathological obsession with Maggie before. If, by any chance, I regain my memory and remember what happened today, I'm afraid I'll blame myself to the point of despair, right? But as I look at Cherry, who looks worried, my heart is filled only with tenderness. After a moment of silence, I softly say, "Does it still hurt?" Cherry shakes her head, wanting to speak but hesitates. I suddenly smile and pull her into my arms, causing her whole body to tremble. Cherry, let's be together. I'm serious. Chapter 11. What? Cherry, you're together with Peter? Great. Fantastic. Our Peter must have accumulated good karma in his past life. When Cherry and I appear in front of my mother, hand in hand with a shy expression on her face, my mother smiles so wide that her mouth reaches her ears. We must celebrate this properly. When are you two planning to get engaged? Seeing my mother's eagerness to send us straight to the bridal chamber in a couple of days, I can't help but feel helpless. I have to speak up. There's no rush. Let me handle the matters at the company first, and then I'll take Cherry on a 2-year trip before we get engaged. It would be too hasty otherwise. Whatever others have, Cherry should have too, and it should be even better. Upon hearing this, my mother's eyes turn into crescent moons from smiling. She grabs Cherry's hand and becomes more and more satisfied. This brat still has some sense. Cherry, if this brat dares to bully you, you give him a good beating, or come to me, I'll help you vent your anger. Yes, Auntie. I understand. Cherry, with a flushed face, gives me a pleading look. I chuckle, shrug my shoulders, and indicate that I can't do anything about it. Actually, my mother has practically seen Cherry grow up. Normally, when my mother visits, she treats Cherry like her own daughter. But now that the roles have suddenly changed, Cherry is the one feeling a bit uneasy. Watching them happily together, my heart relaxes a lot. Just then, a phone call suddenly rings, and Director Lee's voice comes through. Mr. Smith, something bad has happened. Look at the news. Maggie, the chairwoman of Admire Sky Enterprises, is holding a press conference. This is a big deal. Chapter 12. Hello everyone, I am Maggie, the chairwoman of Admire Sky Enterprises. Due to the recent engagement drama with Mr. Smith, I believe many of you are familiar with me. I know that many people have criticized me, but here, I want to tell you the real reason behind my runaway bride incident. Peter, he is a scumbag. Not only did he cheat on me, causing me great harm, but even after I caught him red-handed, he protected the other woman and even hit me. Tell me, how can I continue with such a scumbag? And what kind of person is Smith, who allows such a scumbag to hold a high position in his company? After being hurt by this scumbag Peter, I have thought about suicide several times. But luckily, I met Ted. He is the purest boy I have ever encountered. Although he may not be as wealthy as Peter, his heart belongs only to me, and I believe that with my help and his abilities, we can take Admire Sky Enterprises to new heights. Today's press conference is not only to let everyone know the truth, but also to announce that Ted will become the CEO of Admire Sky Enterprises. On the TV, Maggie, dressed in a white dress, cries with tears flowing down her face. She also presents several photos, which are scenes from the restaurant incident a few days ago. How shameless can she be? Watching the video, my mother slaps her chest in anger. The word she used to accuse me could almost be used to describe Maggie herself, at least in the eyes of those who have these 7 years of memories. I never expected Maggie to turn the tables like this. In those 7 years, I almost gave my life for her. It can be imagined that after the contents of the press conference quickly spread, the stock price of Smith Enterprises will likely plummet in a short period of time. Mom, don't worry, I'll handle it. I smile, feeling unexpectedly calm. I gently pat my mother's back with some apology in my eyes as I look at Cherry and say, Cherry, it seems like I can only take you on a trip next time. I have to resolve this twisted fate first. I'll take care of Auntie. Cherry suddenly steps forward, gently holding my hand, and softly says, Don't work too hard. My heart trembles for a moment, and I give her a reassuring look, then walk out of the room. Just then, my phone rings again. Maggie's cold laughter comes through the phone. Peter, did you really think you, as a lapdog, could outsmart me? Let me tell you, whether your amnesia is real or fake, I won't allow my trash to be picked up by someone else. Now, immediately, break up with that bitch and come to my office to beg me on your knees. Return the new energy project of Admire Sky Enterprises, and I will consider forgiving you. Before she finishes speaking, I interrupt her directly. Idiot. The wind rises, and Admire Sky Enterprises is about to go bankrupt. Chapter 13. Peter. You just wait for me. This time, you won't be able to turn the tables. Listening to the busy tone on the other end, Maggie feels like her lungs are about to explode. 7 years. For a whole 7 years, I have never disobeyed her like a dog. And now she dares to curse at me? Unforgivable. Alright, Maggie, don't get angry, it's not worth it. Ted smiles, walks up to Maggie, and speaks up. That guy is probably done for this time, and Smith Enterprises will likely suffer heavy losses. What we should do now is seize this opportunity and take a big bite out of Smith Enterprises. Hearing this, Maggie looks somewhat surprised and says, You want to go after Smith Enterprises? Smith Enterprises is not easy to mess with. Although she has the intention of disgusting me, she never thought of making Admire Sky Enterprises personally engage in a business war with Smith Enterprises, because they are not in the same league at all. Maggie. This is a rare opportunity. Smith Enterprises is overwhelmed, and if we unite with a few other companies, we might as well swallow Smith Enterprises. Just imagine the sight of Peter kneeling before you, begging for you. Ted licks his lips and looks eager. Upon hearing this, Maggie suddenly remembers the slap on her face a few days ago, and it seems to be hurting again. All right. Ted, I'll follow your lead. Taking a deep breath, Maggie leans her head towards Ted's direction and softly says, It seems you have the courage. Admire Sky Enterprises will rely on you to steer the ship in the future. Okay, leave it to me. Looking at Maggie on his shoulder, Ted's eyes flash with a subtle but barely noticeable disgust. Nonetheless, he still smiles and sees Maggie off. After making sure there's no one around, he makes a phone call. My dear, it's almost done. I'll have that old woman taken care of soon, and in a few days, she'll hand over her shares to me. How could I possibly like her? That old woman is just a fool, and her face is so disgusting, she's almost 30. My heart belongs only to you. Baby, don't worry, book your flight out of the country, it's time. Chapter 14. Is this for real? I spread out a stack of personal files on my desk, looking at Mr. Lee in front of me with astonishment. I had only wanted to gain a deeper understanding of the personnel structure at Admire Sky Enterprises, but I never expected to stumble upon a big fish. That Ted, he's actually a fugitive fraudster? And he specializes in scamming wealthy women. This is truly unbelievable. Mr. Smith, what should we do now? Should we report him to the police? Mr. Lee is also speechless. The development of this situation is more exciting than a novel. Just imagine, if news of Ted being a fraudster were to break out, Admire Sky Enterprises would surely face a major crisis. Not for now. I lightly tapped the armrest with my fingertips, smiling faintly. I already have a better idea in my mind. Admire Sky Enterprises is a good company, it's just the upper management that has issues. There's no need to destroy the entire company. Besides, Ted earned his money through hard work. Since he wants shares in Admire Sky, let's give him a hand. A few days later, Ted suddenly rushes to Maggie in an extremely excited state. Maggie! The opportunity has come. The several major companies I contacted have unexpectedly agreed to my proposal. But they have one condition: I have to become a substantial director of the company. Take a look at this. Taking a deep breath, Ted is so excited that he almost jumps up and down, feeling like he's been hit by a pie falling from the sky today. What? Maggie's heart fills with joy. She didn't expect those companies to actually agree. However, she furrows her brow slightly and hesitates. If you become a substantial director, other people in the company might not be willing to give up their shares. If they're not willing, Maggie, why don't you give me your shares first? Suddenly, Ted speaks up. You want my shares? Maggie is taken aback, seemingly not processing it all at once. You don't want to? Seeing this reaction, Ted furrows his brow slightly, his face turning serious. You think I would be interested in your measly shares? I've been busy running around just to bring down the Smiths. You don't even trust me with this? Maggie quickly waves her hands. That's not what I meant. It's just that transferring ownership of shares, even through proper procedures, takes time. Upon hearing that Maggie is willing, Ted immediately interrupts. It's fine. I've already figured it out. Just quickly sell your shares at a low price, and then I'll buy them. Ah, isn't that too risky? Maggie feels uneasy, hesitating as she speaks. But seeing Ted's face turning serious again, she can only grit her teeth and change her words. Fine. Let's do it your way. Chapter 15. Soon, Maggie made a call and started to have her shares sold at a low price. Meanwhile, Ted immediately began buying them. Mr. Smith, the fish is hooked. Hearing the voice on the phone, I smiled and said, well then, let's reel it in and have the police invite our comrade Ted for a cup of tea. Yes. On the other side, Ted paced nervously, occasionally flashing a glimmer of hope in his eyes for the future. But just at that moment, bang! The office door was abruptly slammed open. Several stern police officers walked in, directly grabbing hold of the panicked Ted. You scoundrel, you've been scamming across 6 provinces for months. Let's see where you can run now. The leading police officer sneered coldly, leading Ted out. Wait. A fraudster? What? Maggie stood up abruptly, her face turning pale. After she learned about Ted's true identity from the police, she was left dumbfounded. She had become a laughingstock. No, this is not good. Maggie. Your stocks. Admire Sky Enterprises has acquired them all. Just then, another piece of news came in. It made her collapse to the ground as if all her bones had been removed. Despair filled her eyes. It's over, everything is over. No, there's still hope. She must beg Peter, he wouldn't take things to the extreme. Peter, I'm sorry, I know I was wrong, please forgive me, I'll listen to you from now on. Trembling, Maggie dialed that familiar number, crying and pleading. Then, from the phone came that word. Idiot. Chapter 16. 2 years later. On the beach, a grand wedding banquet is taking place. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the groom, Peter, and the bride, Sherry. As the MC's deep voice resounds, I hold Sherry's soft hand and slowly proceed forward. Cheers and applause fill the air. After taking care of the company's affairs, Sherry and I traveled outside for 2 years, and eventually decided to get married. What's the matter, scared? Feeling Sherry's slight tremble, I couldn't help but tease. Oomph, not at all. Unlike you, I have no experience, right? Feeling a sharp pain in my waist from her playful pinch, I couldn't help but grimace. I remember Admire Sky Enterprises later focused on charity work. After Maggie was kicked out, she seemed unable to handle the blow and ended up in a mental hospital? Seems like it? I don't remember. Don't you want to pay her a visit? She's just a stranger, why should I go see her? Upon hearing my response, Sherry's eyes reveal a hint of satisfaction as she tightly holds my hand. I smile, embracing her in my arms. I've said it before, Sherry, in this lifetime, you are my one and only.